Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. This is Alejandro Fejes speaking. I welcome you all to this Lambent webinar. Many thanks for being with us today, having this time during the day to share with us and to spend with us exploring this interesting topic about truth and lies, the science. This is an introductory webinar to to introduce you, to present you the concepts we are going to develop on the training with the same name, Truth and Lies, the Science, on September in London. And we have the gift to have Joseph O'Connor with us, who's a master trainer and founder of the international coaching community and developer of many training programs that are taken by thousands of people around the world. So before I can give the word to him, I would like just to know if you hear me well. So first, please, to know that, please raise your hand so I can know that you hear me well and we can continue, so the technical aspects are in place. In the toolbar you'll find a little hand, yellow hand, so just click there. Many thanks. Great. So also, just to complete the presentation of this tool, we have a small chat window there, so you can use that window to send us messages or questions, probably by the end of the webinar when we open a little space for question and answers. So just to know that you use it well, please could you write there, where are you from? Just to know we are connected through there. Just type where are you from, or where are you now, whatever you want, so we know receive this. Welcome Juan Carlos, Portugal Pedro, Mexico, Belarus, France, Spain, Mexico again. Well, it's really an international event. I'm in Argentina now and Joseph in London, so welcome to you all from all the parts of the world. So, okay, I think everything is set up now, and I can welcome Joseph to start with the webinar. Welcome, Joseph, then to this webinar. Do you hear us well?
Yes, hi Alexandra, hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me. I guess if Alexandra can hear me, then everyone else can. So I'm going to proceed on that basis. So welcome to this webinar. Welcome, where I am at least, to a beautiful September sunny afternoon in London. And this is an interesting webinar for me to do about truth and lies. It's something that we're doing at Lambent now for the first time, and we're very proud to be a development centre to licensed to give out on Paul Ekman's work, Paul Ekman being a pioneer researcher on human emotion, and particularly in terms of deception. So what I'd like to do, just briefly introduce myself. I'm director of Lambent, founder of Lambent, together with my wife and partner Andrea Lages, and we're executive coaches and also coach trainers. We're also NLP trainers. So in coaching and NLP, of course, we get extremely interested in deception, people deceiving each other, wittingly or unwittingly, with more or less consequences, and also, of course, self-deception, which is an interesting topic. So this seminar is a taster, as Alexandra said, just to give you an idea of the seminar that we're going to be doing on the 18th of September in London at the Institute of Directors on Truth and Lies. The science, you'll notice that the title of this is Truth and Lies, the Science. And this is important because there's an awful lot of myths and legends and urban myths and weird ideas about truth and how you can tell people who are lying. And we'll be exploring and actually demolishing some of these myths in this webinar. And there is a science behind it. A science means that there is actual research, methodology, proven and tested ideas, and this is certainly Paul Ekman's been in the forefront of this. So we'll run about 30 minutes or so, and then we'll take some questions, any of your questions. So then, just starting this truth and lies. I've always been interested in truth and lies. I can remember one of my first memories about it is of my mother, who said to me from an early age, that's my early age, not her early age, that she could always tell when I was lying to her. And of course, as a small boy, I believed her. Therefore, whenever I did try to lie to her, I'm sure I kind of turned red and stuttered and did all sorts of things that immediately let her know that I was. So it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. But in the real world of adults and talking with each other and relationships and all these sorts of things, it's not so easy. So to explore this is very interesting, and certainly as an executive coach, it's something that interests me a lot. So first of all, the word truth, it comes from the same root as the word trust, and that comes from the same root as something that means support. So if something is true and you trust it, then it supports you. It's like a strong wall. You lean against it, you trust that it's going to support you, it's not going to fall down. And if you don't trust it, then it's too weak, it's going to fall down, it won't support your weight, and you just don't lean on it. So I kind of look on truth in the same way. If we just go to the next slide, Alexandra will move us on here. Yeah, so trust, the basis of society and relationships. Now, the reason I've put that £50 note there of pound sterling is that on all English money, there is the phrase, I promise to pay the bearer of this £50. So that £50 note actually is a promise. It's not anything, you know, in itself. It's nothing in itself, as we know. When the money system collapses, then it's just so much paper. What it means, it's a promise of somebody that they're going to pay you. And as long as you trust that promise, then that money is worth something. And as soon as you don't trust that promise, you go to the bank and you take all your money out and you try and spend it. And of course, then societies collapse. And we've seen some of that in some countries in the last century. So just want to make the point that this is not theoretical. This is not kind of all soft and soft science. This is the basis of society and relationships. We want and assume and trust that people will tell us the truth, and the whole of our economic system is based on the trust that people will fulfill their promises. So there's a very strong underpinning to truth and lies that I think is really important, and I think it's also very interesting. Now, despite the fact that it's so important, most people rate only slightly better than chance on being able to detect lies or truth. It's about 54%. In other words, if you're told a lie, then it's about 54% that you'll know that. And if you're told the truth, then 54% that, again, you'll know that. And it's important to actually distinguish those two, because if you were told 10 statements, for example, and 5 of them were lies and 5 of them were truth, and you said all 10 were lies, then you would be 100% right in terms of the lies. In other words, you get all the lies right because there's 5 of them. However, 5 of them are the truth, and you get 100% of those wrong. Yeah? If you said everything was a lie, then if 5 of them were true, then you would be completely wrong about detecting truth. So it's not just about being able to determine a lie. It's also about knowing when you're being told the truth. And the impact of not knowing when you're lied to can be very strong. And the impact of not believing the truth when you are being told the truth is also very strong. So it's important to remember those two aspects to it. We're not just talking about detecting lies. We're also talking about detecting truth. So, I guess also a lot of the time, lies, when we talk about lies, it doesn't matter very much. There is these white lies, you know, that we're told all the time. Probably it's the kind of the lubrication of social life, of society. When we tell people things that aren't true all the time, really. So I don't want to take a judgment about this, you know, bad necessarily, because I'm sure we can think of times even today where we haven't told the truth. And if you can believe some research, you're certainly going to get lied to at least 3 times today by one person or another. And, you know, you get the harmless lies like the kind of archetypal one for a man to say to a woman is, that dress doesn't make you look fat. So, you know, that may not be true for the man anyway, but he's going to say that anyway, because he's certainly not going to say that dress makes you look fat. Then he's dead. In the same way, you know, a woman may say to a man, oh, those trousers go really well with that shirt, when in fact they don't at all. The woman's much better style and colour sense is screaming no, no, no. But yeah, to be nice, you say, yeah, it's okay. So yeah, all the time we get these sort of lies. And, of course, there will be times when there are high-stakes situations. And then it's really crucial to know if you're being lied to. Negotiations, job interviews, certainly in therapy and coaching, in leadership situations, and, of course, all the kind of security, police, border situations that are the obvious ones and are the staple of all the TV series that we see. So, you know, the truth and lies, it varies from, well, it doesn't matter and we do these sort of things, all the way to it's really, really important to know. And it's, I think, difficult for most people to get the skill of being able to distinguish truth from lies when you're being lied to or when you're being told the truth. And there's a number of reasons for this. I just want to cover 4 of them because I think they're important. The first one is we expect to be told the truth. So generally speaking, we expect that people will tell us the truth. Now, if we discover they don't, if we discover that they're lying to us, then we tend to stop trusting them, and then anything they say after that could be suspect. But generally speaking, we believe them until we don't. So there's a kind of positive will to believe there right from the start. And also sometimes, of course, we want to believe what we're told because it kind of suits our pride, or, you know, all sorts of scams and confidence tricks and things like that, internet scams, work because people want to believe what they're told. And sometimes what they're told is too good to be true. But they want to believe it. And they forget the saying that says, if something's too good to be true, then it probably isn't true. So, you know, we have all sorts of financial deals that promise incredible interest rates and returns, or the kind of internet emails that you get that tell you that you've been left £100 million by someone you've never heard of, and all you have to do is to, you know, send a few thousand to some address in Nigeria, and you'll get the $1 million. And of course it doesn't work, it's too good to be true. But some people want to believe things. And this kind of shades then into self-deception, which is a very interesting topic, but not one we're going to have time to go into right now. So that's the second reason we want to believe. Third reason is that we don't usually get feedback. So we may be lied to, but we can't learn without feedback, and the more immediate the feedback, the easier we learn. So we may never know, we may never realize that we've been lied to and therefore we never get the learning to be able to distinguish and detect the signs that make up that we are being lied to. So that lack of feedback, plus the fact that in normal social situations you can't ask the kind of direct questions that you would ask if you thought someone was lying to you and you wanted to prove a test. You can't do that in normal social situations. So it's again difficult. And I think the fourth one, and one that's most interesting for me, is that we're not used to looking carefully at things. We're not used to looking carefully at other people. We're not used to being very aware of what other people say and do and their body language. We're socially trained not to pay attention. Right from the start, when your parents may tell you it's rude to stare, what are you looking at? Stop looking at me, that's rude. So we kind of get socially trained not to look, not to listen, not to pay attention. And you've only just got to walk down the street and you'll see people's eyes kind of slide across your face and pretend that they're looking at something really interesting like the post box or the tree or the house, because they don't want to be caught looking at you. So this kind of lack of awareness, lack of acuity, is very important, I think, and it stops us from really appreciating what's going on, let alone lies or truth. It separates us from the world, and the more aware we can be, the more interesting and open and bright and loud the whole world is. So for me, this idea of being able to pay attention in the context of truth and lies is a part of a much wider opportunity to pay attention to your own experience and to other people's experience, and not just go around with your eyes shut and your ears shut. So that's kind of some personal things from me. If we move on now to some of the myths that surround truth and lies, there's a lot of myths. So let's bring some science to this. So let's move on. First of all, what is truth and what is lying? Here's some good definitions. So truth is a sincere attempt to provide accurate information. So you notice there's two aspects to that. One is the sincerity, which is the kind of internal, the individual internal intention. So if I sincerely tell you something and I really believe it myself and it's not true, then I'm not lying to you because it's my own sincerity, my own intention. And then the other half of it is accurate information. Right? So if I sincerely tell you something that is inaccurate, then I'm not lying to you. Truth is the intention and the accuracy. So then, on the other hand, the lying, deliberately choosing to mislead someone without giving prior notification. So you don't tell someone that this is a situation where they could get lied to, and you deliberately choose, so you could give them accurate information, but again, your intention is to mislead them. And you could mislead them about facts about something. You could mislead them about how you feel. You could mislead them about other people. It could be really anything. But again, that internal intention is very important. So these are Paul Ekman's definitions, and I think they're very nice. They're very clear about truth and lies. So now if we move on to the myths of how you can tell someone is lying to you. We move on to the next slide. By myth, I mean something that is often widely believed, but is not actually true. We have myths and science, and we're going to bring some science to this. So let's look at some of the dragons of how can you tell someone is lying to you. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, so here's the first myth. Particular eye movements indicate lying. And this is something that often comes from NLP. Because in the NLP model, if you move your eyes up to your right, then this is taken in most people to mean that you are constructing pictures. And if you're constructing pictures, then they can't be real, they can't be remembered, it must be a lie. Well, this is just not true. There's a couple of very simple reasons. First of all, eyes up to the right means visualization, but it doesn't necessarily for everybody mean constructed visualization. There are many right-handed people who move their eyes up to the right when they're constructing pictures, and most left-handed people move their eyes up to the right when they're constructing pictures. So that, first of all, doesn't even tell you that they're constructing pictures. And secondly, even if they are constructing pictures, it could be like taking a little snapshot of something that they've remembered and putting it in with something else. So they're kind of making a collage or some kind of creative way to visualize something that's actually made up of memories, but it's not a complete remembered picture. So again, doesn't mean that they're lying. And yet I believe that there are some trainers who've actually taught people that if they see somebody moving their eyes up to the right, then they're lying. And this is bad news, especially if a policeman believes this and they start interrogating a left-handed person. The left-handed person is highly likely to move their eyes up to their right when they are remembering pictures, and badly trained policemen will think that they're lying. So let's dispose of that one straight away. It doesn't mean that they're lying. There's nothing about eye movements that is going to tell you someone's lying. So let's move on to the next myth. Myth number 2. This is one that people sometimes say, face touching indicates lying. Well, no, it doesn't. In fact, when people lie, they tend to make less gestures, generally speaking, especially pointing gestures. So they are actually, generally speaking again, less likely to touch their face. So while that's widely believed by many people, face touching does not indicate lying. So let's move on to the next one. Myth number 3. Poor eye contact indicates lying. No, it doesn't. Eye contact is very easily controlled by just about everybody. And so eye contact, poor eye contact doesn't mean someone's lying. In fact, it's very often culturally constrained, because in many cultures, to make eye contact is actually considered disrespectful. So people in many cultures will not make eye contact, and this will mean that if people expect good eye contact, then they're going to think that these people are lying or being shifty or something like that. And it just doesn't work. So nothing about eye contact is going to tell you whether people are lying. So let's move on to the 4th one. Okay, here's the 4th one. Pinocchio's nose. Remember Pinocchio? Whenever he lied, you could immediately tell because his nose got longer. Well, of course, real people's noses don't get longer, but this is Pinocchio's nose means there is a definite, objective, always correct indication that people are lying, and there isn't. There is nothing that will always, with everybody, indicate that they're lying. So there is no Pinocchio's nose. You just can't tell. People are very different. It's very important actually to know, you've got to know the baseline, what you might call the baseline of people. You know, how they are when they're not under stress, how they are when they're just generally talking. In other words, in NLP terms, to calibrate. How are people normally? And then, once you know how people are normally, you have some indication and some idea that if they are going to be lying, then something will be different. But you don't exactly know what. So, no Pinocchio's nose, sorry about that. If if you were logging into this webinar to find out if there was something like that, then I'm sorry to disappoint you. But the truth is actually much more interesting than that. There are many different kind of clusters of possible signs, and you need to be awake and aware and watching and listening in order to find them. So, let me just say one other thing about that. The reason why there's no Pinocchio's nose is not just because people have different baselines. I've certainly seen people who look like they could be lying by all the kinds of myths that we've just gone through. But that's their normal way. That's just the normal way they talk. Maybe they stutter, or they pause, or they don't look at you, or they kind of scratch their face every now and then, or whatever it might be. That's just the way they are. And also, you've got to remember context, the context in which people are. So people may be in a situation, and this is particularly true if they're being interrogated, or in a job interview or something like this. They're under stress. They're under stress to start with, and therefore you can't judge them in a stress situation. You don't have a baseline. So again, you've got to remember about the context in which you're talking with people. So baseline and context, really important. So then let's move on a little bit, and the next slide I've got is a very famous video. Now I think, yes, you have that link there at the bottom, which you can watch, which is a video of Bill Clinton. And I was told that if I tried to show you the video in a webinar, it would be poor quality. So if you could just go to that and just click on that YouTube link.
I sent Joseph the link.
Yeah, okay. So just like everybody to click on that link and just watch Bill Clinton in that famous TV broadcast where he denies having sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. So just let me give you a moment to do that, and maybe you could just raise your hand when you've watched that video. I think about 1.5 million, there's been 1.5 million views of this video.
So I saw several hands. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So then, yeah, it's nice. And then I want to move on to a second video, kind of complement to that one. Here's our next one.
I sent also the link through the chat, so you can watch it.
Great. Okay. So here's the second one. I picked 2 United States presidents. I'm not sure the implication of that, but again, this is another famous video of Richard Nixon this time, saying that he's not a crook. So I'll just give you a moment to watch Richard Nixon denying that he's a crook. again, many millions and millions of views on this one. So just raise your hands when you've seen that. Alexandra will tell me when some hands have gone up.
Yes, Joseph, I think we have several hands there.
Good. Okay, well, just a few comments on those two videos, which I'm sure you've all seen sometime in the past. It's easy, of course, to go back with hindsight and make these sort of judgments. But what struck me about both of them is they both start the same way. Clinton says, "I want to tell the American people," and Nixon says, "I want to tell the television audience." So immediately there's a kind of disconnection. They don't just say it. They say that they want to say it. So there's a kind of disconnection from the statement, and that's almost word for word true of both of them. So that's one interesting thing. The particularly interesting thing about Clinton is that I don't know if you noticed or paid attention to it, but his gesture, his kind of cutting gesture with his right hand, in no way synchronizes with his words. It just doesn't. He talks with a certain emphasis, but the way that he emphasizes with his right hand moving up and down is a completely different rhythm. So there's a disconnect between the body language and the words. And that is a pretty good sign, that was, actually. A pretty good sign. It's uncoordinated. But what he's saying is there's something else. And then he also says that woman, he doesn't name, then he goes on to name her, but first of all he doesn't actually name her. So again there's a kind of disconnection, a kind of dissociation. And then Nixon, well, he kind of stutters over one part, and he kind of shakes his head in another part, almost denying what he's saying. And then he says, "I'm not a crook." And again, what's true, particularly true of that video, and also of both of them, is that they both deny, they both use a lot of negatives. And again, from the research, when people lie, they tend to use more negatives than positives. This, of course, in a situation where you're accused of something and you deny it, that's fair enough. But generally speaking, there will be more negative words in someone who's lying than in someone who's telling the truth, given that the two things are equal. So those immediately show three interesting things about lies. One is that dissociation of the person from their statement and from the people they describe. The second is the uncoordinated gestures, the incongruence between the body language and the words. And then the third is the negatives, the more negatives. There, of course, when we talk about detecting lies generally, we're looking for incongruence. We're looking for things that don't match. And we're going to need to look at everything and listen to everything. So you've got your channels, you've got words, what people say. And of course, sometimes people make slips of the tongue where the words betray them. But let's say the words are straightforward. There's the voice tone. This is more difficult to pick up, variations in voice tone for most people. unless they have musical training. There's the face, and what's interesting about the face from Paul Ekman's research, fascinating that there are 7 universal emotions and emotional expressions that are the same all over the world. It doesn't matter whereabouts in the world you go. And until he discovered this, people thought it was culturally conditioned. People thought that, different people in Hong Kong or Borneo or South America or North America would show, say, surprise in different ways because it's a completely different culture. But this is not true. Actually, the face of somebody surprised is the same. It has the same kind of muscle picture all over the world. Surprise is a universal emotion. So is happiness. So is sadness, anger, contempt, fear, and disgust. These are the 7 universal emotions that you can recognize when they're on the face of anyone in the world, regardless of culture, even regardless of age and upbringing. So that's also interesting because, of course, if you see someone saying, I feel very happy, and they have a sad face, then this is an incongruence. And you might well think, no, don't look happy, right? They don't, maybe they're lying, maybe they're not really happy at all. Now that's quite obvious if the sad expression is on the face there, and we immediately say that this is incongruence between facial expression, body language, and words. But what's fascinating about these expressions is that they can flick across the face in about 1/25th of a second. They just flick across the face and they're gone. And these are called micro-expressions. It's the same expression. And if you were to slow down the video, you'd see it in the same way that you'd see it if it was stayed on the face of someone. Now these micro-expressions, unless you know about this, unless you've been trained in it, unless you're awake, you won't see it. And it'll be exactly the same message and exactly the same incongruence. So someone may say, I'm happy, and there may be a micro-expression of sadness because they're trying to control their sadness. And then, 1/25th of a second, it's gone. You won't see it, you won't pick it up, you won't know. So, paying attention and training to be paid attention, which is part of the Paul Ekman training and the training that we're doing, is, well, very important and also fascinating in terms of exploring emotions. So you've got to keep your eyes and ears open. Eyes for the facial expressions and the body language, ears for the voice tone and the words. So, well, I think that's probably all we've got time for today. Just to say, before we take questions, because I'd like to hear your questions and comments at the end, but just to say before that, that the training on the 18th, one-day training, if you're interested in taking that training and you're listening to this webinar, then we can offer you a 20% discount on that training. And if you go to the Lambent website and enter the code webinar, you will get a 20% discount on the price. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be separating the myths from the science. There's plenty more myths, and there's a lot more science. A comprehensive psychological model to evaluate truth and lies, to recognize those micro-expressions that we've been talking about. You won't recognize them, or you won't even see them without training. And to assess your own ability to tell truth from lies. And how good do you think you are? I was certainly surprised. I thought I was pretty good, not at all. But with training, I got a lot better. So this is what we'll be doing, and we can offer you a 20% discount if you use the code webinar. So, then I would be very happy to have any questions, either typed into the box, or if you raise your hand, Alejandro will we'll be able to put you on live mic and you can ask the questions now. So I'm open now to comments and questions from our audience.
Thanks, Joseph. So raise your hand if you have your microphone ready, or just type on the chat box. I will read the questions for you so we can share the answers. Here's the first one. Denise is asking, will this training be only in presence or there will be a distance option?
This training that we're talking about, this one-day training, is only in presence. We don't have a distance option. Paul Ekman International are working on distance options, but we don't have them yet.
Thanks, Denise.
Sorry, Denise. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, waiting for them. Or in case if you are okay, just raise your hand so we know that you are complete and we can then finish the webinar. Okay.
Okay, so then looks like we are finished. Alessandro, if you just want to go to the last slide there.
I'm changing it right now.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So then, if you go to the website there, lambent.com, you'll be able to see the registration page for the seminar. So if there are no more questions or comments, then thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to meet you in person very soon.
Many thanks then to all, and looking forward to meet you soon. Yes. Thanks, Joseph, for this webinar also.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.